Let's talk about one of the most defining albums of the 1990s, and probably one of my personal favorite bands. Even when living in the US, and they're a UK band, one of my personal favorites. There's one that always finds its way into the conversation. What's the story Morning Glory by Oasis? The album came out in October 1995. It wasn't just an album, it was a cultural movement, a statement, a declaration that rock and roll still had something to say, and Oasis were going to shout it from the rooftop. At the time that Britpop was exploding, you had bands like Blur and Pulp and Suede all doing their own thing. But Oasis brought something completely different. There was a kind of working class bravado, a sense that they weren't just making music for critics or the cool kids, they were making it for everyone. You know, for the pub, for the bedroom, for the stadium, and Morning Glory was that culmination of that attitude. From the moment you drop the needle or hit play, you're thrown into the sort of wall of sound. Of course, you got the beginning track, Hello, kicks things off with Liam Gallagher's unmistakable snarl, and then it just doesn't let up. You know, Roll With It, Some Might Say, Cast No Shadow, and of course, the massive singles that everyone still knows, Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, and Champagne Supernova. Now, we've all heard Wonderwall 1,000 times. It's a meme at this point. But it still works. It taps into something universal. It's simple, it's catchy, and feels personal. Even though nobody really knows what a Wonderwall is. And then there's Don't Look Back in Anger, one that transcended the band. If it's a song people sing at weddings, at funerals, at football matches, it's more than a hit. It's become part of the emotional language of a generation. What makes Morning Glory so important is that it didn't just capture the sound of the 90s, it helped define it. This was a peak of the so-called Battle of Britpop, when the UK media pitted Oasis against Blur in this sort of manufactured rivalry. And while that whole thing was mostly just hype, Oasis came out swinging. Morning Glory went on to sell over 20 million copies worldwide, and suddenly British rock was back on the global spotlight. Musically, Noel Gallagher leaned hard into this big, anthemic chords and like, little Beatles here, a little Slade there, but with lyrics that were just vague enough to feel profound. And Liam's voice, love it or hate it, gave those words an edge. It was bratty, it was emotional, and it was real. That combo, that's what made the song stick. Now, not every critic loved the album when it dropped. Some thought it was, too similar to their debut, too loud, too self-important. But in hindsight, that confidence, that belief in the power of the song is exactly what makes it work. Oasis weren't just trying to be subtle, they were trying to be great, and with Morning Glory, they definitely pulled this one off. Almost 30 years later, these songs still hit. They still get sung in pubs and stadiums. They still get covered by new artists. And for a lot of people, they still feel like home. And I personally agree. So yeah, when you talk about, albums that shaped the 90s, that meant something beyond the music, What's the Story of Morning Glory isn't just part of the story, it is the story. So if you haven't listened to this album, I strongly suggest it. Dig deep with Oasis. They're more than just, their singles, their hits, their whatever. Like, dude, their albums are incredible, and they get better every time you listen to it. Take it from me, I would know that. Check it out. Let me know what you think.